Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahushai, Bahasham, Recha Kudash. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to the elect. And today we're going to go into the book of Esther, the 10th chapter, which is pretty much the last chapter in this book. And this is sort of just like the ending of, the story that we went through post, Haman's and failed attempts and endeavors to try and eliminate the Jews, and the declaration of the holy day or holy days of Purim. And so finally, this is the book of Esther, chapter 10, verse 1. And it reads, "And King Ahasuerus laid a tribute upon the land and upon the isles of the sea, and all the acts of his power and his might, and the declaration of the greatness of Mordecai, whereunto the king advanced him, are they not written in the book of the chronicles of the kings of Media and Persia?" Now, interestingly enough, of course, if you go and look up in the secular history, what oftentimes they'll try to do is they'll try to downplay the book of Esther and as though it's a fictional book, it's non-canonical, but best believe it is non-fictional, right? And there's a great chance that a lot of these records that, the chronicles here, some of those records that were found, obviously are not everyone is released to the public. So as far as the public mind knows, or they look up, maybe they say they don't find any records, but that doesn't mean that records don't exist. We're dealing with history here, right? Verse 3, "For Mordecai the Jew was next unto King Ahasuerus, and great among the Jews, and accepted of the multitude of his brethren, seeking the wealth of his people, and speaking peace to all his seed." All right, and that's pretty much the story there. Now, there's a bit more here, going back to the editions of Esther, chapter 10. So this was the very beginning, the first chapter of the editions of Esther, from verse 4, as they have it formatted here, down to verse 13, right? So you see how this verse 4, right, as we keep on reading here, really is like a continuation of this editions of Esther, chapter 10, because this ends at verse 3, right? So it says here, "Then Mordecai said, God hath done these things. For I remember a dream which I saw concerning these matters, and nothing thereof hath failed." And remember, we went over that dream, which I think was in additions to Esther chapter 11, right? This chapter here. About the two great dragons. But like I mentioned before, the editions of Esther are not in chronological order, right? And that's why throughout this chapter or this book of Esther, I had to sort of read and jump here to put it in the chronological order for you. So, continuing, editions of Esther chapter 10, verse 5. "For I remember a dream which I had concerning these matters, and nothing thereof hath failed. A little fountain became a river, and there was light, and the sun, and much water. This river is Esther, whom the king married, and made queen." And this is basically the interpretation of the vision that Mordecai saw in additions to Esther chapter 11. "And the two dragons are I and Aman, or Haman. And the nations were those that were assembled to destroy the name of the Jews." So at this point, Mordecai understood what the vision that he received meant, because it had been fulfilled. "And verse 9, "And my nation is this Israel, which cried to God, and were saved. For the Lord hath saved his people, and the Lord hath delivered us from all those evils. And God hath wrought signs and great wonders, which have not been done among the Gentiles. Therefore hath he made two lots, one for the people of God, and another for all the Gentiles. And these two lots came at the hour and time and day of judgment before God among all nations. So God remembered his people and justified his inheritance. Yeah, because remember that there was a lot that was cast, you know, to destroy the Jews on a particular time, and the Lord reversed it. Verse 13, therefore those days shall be unto them in the month Adar, the 14th and 15th day of the same month, with an assembly and joy, and with gladness before God, according to the generations forever among his people. And that brings us to the end of the book of Esther. So there's some context for you. In terms of secular history, we know that this king here, Ahasuerus, is identified with Xerxes the First, right? The son of Darius, the same Xerxes from the movie 300. Okay, so, pretty much that's it on that. Lord willing, this was edifying to the elect. In closing, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahushai, Bahasham, Recha Kudash. Until next time, Shalom.